Chapter 10. I wrote a love poem once. I wrote a love poem once. Heard it was good. I remember it was good. The love. I heard the poem was good. It was many years ago. Lost in the fire, as it were. The love poem. I forget how it goes. The love poem. I just cannot remember the words I wrote. But I know I wrote a love poem. Once, or twice, or more. Chapter 11. An infinite beach. On some beach that never ends, I'm with her, and just for a moment, I pretend that things never change, that sometimes, in moments like this, we walk hand in hand forever. This is my greatest desire, to stop time like this, when there is just this place, just these beach sounds, and just she and I. Chapter 12. What really matters. Moments frozen in time. This is what love seems to be. These moments you remember. Something in these moments takes my breath away. Has a certain meaning that endures. A feeling, an image, something said or shared, certain sounds in the background. Whatever it is that you remember is all that really matters. Chapter 13. The whole story. Our love is now like an epic novel, thousands of pages in length, with most pages torn, others burned in the tragic fire. I tried to save what I could, believing it was worth saving, or worth holding on to. Believe that nothing dies, but in the end, what do I have? Just scraps of the book. We wrote the book together. I remember how it was. Page after page, chapter after chapter, lie scattered around a room, in a forgotten home, in a forgotten place, like dark shadows under a hazy sky. Page after page, written with a purpose, written with love. Sure, there were chapters that didn't seem to belong or have any purpose that could be understood. But every part of the story had a purpose and place, whether good or bad, within the larger narrative. This was a story to be told for generations to come, passed down within the family, and as part of a cultural tradition. Looking back at the whole book, and not just a chapter here or there taken out of context, you see a theme which emerges out of the many unplanned chapters. It was always about love, and that matters more than the quality of the narrative. It matters more than how things might have seemed at any one moment in time. This approaches that theme of what really matters, and treats the love, the relationship, the bond, the connection, as if it were the theme for a book, a theme for how one might want to make sense of everything. Chapter 14. Dreamlike Visions. In this dreamlike vision, I lay in her lap, while her golden hair flows in the gentle wind on the beach. Is this real? I reach up to touch her, but she is gone. And I am laying on the sand. Looking skyward, I see her in a vision. She searches for me, calling my name, saying, I am his and he is mine. I try to get back to find her in that infinite beach, where we would walk hand in hand, or lay on the sand, holding each other together forever. The vision, the dream, incomplete. The love never ends. The dream never ends. Notes on the poem. This poem was read at a poetry reading in Wilmington. I read this poem the first time as an expression of my eternal love for Lynn. I wanted to proclaim a love that was biblical in nature. I had no idea at the time that things would change later. Yet if you think about the inspiration for this poem, there is a sense of two people looking for one another and feeling lost or unable to find one another. There's another inspiration for this poem that I need to include to fully appreciate where I'm going with this line of thinking. I think I was thinking of this one when I wrote the poem. I wrote a love poem once, which appears earlier in this book. In that poem, I can't seem to remember how the poem went. Now, obviously, the poem has come back to me. I first read this at the weekly poetry readings at the Coastline Convention Center in Wilmington, overlooking the Cape Fear River. My friend Thomas Childs, who wrote the introduction to this collection, was probably there when I read this poem the first time. I wanted to surprise Lynn with the poem and to declare my love at the same time. It was Sunday in late May of 1994, nearly 2 years after we started seeing each other. The sun was sinking low, and the room was getting slightly dark. There was a slightly dim light up front near the podium. The poem was inspired by a story from the Old Testament and a song by the Electric Prunes called I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night. I was still a Christian back then. I'm not a believer now. I'm choosing the word believer carefully because the song was heard by me when I watched a horror story called The Believers. Lynn had a belief in supernatural things, but she was not Christian. Anyway, I thought the title was somewhat unoriginal. Dreamlike Visions from the Song of Songs. The Song of Songs is called the Song of Solomon by Protestants. I heard the song I Had Too Much to Dream when I was watching the movie called The Believers. There's little that is more magical than being able to get up in front of a room of people and declare your undying love for another person. I could feel the driving power of the song. I loved the applause. It was so obvious that this was what this was about. People were stopping me as I walked away from the podium. Everyone that knew me, all of our mutual friends and acquaintances, knew that this was dedicated to Lynn and inspired by my love for Lynn. I then sat next to Lynn at the table as someone else was about to start reading. I noticed Lynn was doodling. One of our mutual friends said how much he liked the poem. I turned to Lynn and said, "Well, what are your thoughts?" "What?" she said in the form of a question. "I'm sorry, I wasn't listening." I just shook my head and smiled. She added, "I thought you were only reading poems I already heard." I could tell she was embarrassed. Her face was blushing. She added, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetie. Let me read it." I handed it to her and turned to face her. Moving closer, my arms rested on her chair, and I leaned in, tilting my head, and slowly brought my lips to hers. She was too embarrassed to be the one to part lips. I felt aroused as she held my lips there, with her hands on both sides of my face. Just for a moment, there were others. "It's okay," I said, and with a smile I added, "You know what? I really love you." "I love you too, honey," she said. She then looked down and read the poem. This would become an inside joke for us. I would kid her about this in different ways. Maybe something like, "If I share a poem about our love, I hope Lynn is listening." Her way of making up for this in the future was to read my poem on various occasions when she didn't have anything else to read. She would ask if I had the poem and then share it with the group. I can't count the number of times that happened. It demonstrated her appreciation and recognition of the value of our love. It is unmistakable, the anguished cry that the singer expresses when singing those words, "You were gone, gone, gone." There would come a day when Lynn's illness would end our relationship. I hear the singer at the end repeating in painful tones of tragic despair about having too much to dream about. I heard this song in different ways at different times. When I was first writing my poem, I liked the sensual imagery. I celebrated the natural way that two people who are in love and committed to one another for life share their bodies as an expression of love. Some religions can make us feel guilty about sensual love, and that just doesn't make sense. Lynn and I were a couple, committed to one another forever. We were living as husband and wife, and I had no idea of anyone or anything else than this life that I had. There's another way to listen to the song. We hear, "Then came the dawn, and you were gone, gone, gone." Something nightmarishly tragic later did happen to me in the relationship that was of such infinite value to me. Part of that tragedy for me was that I blamed myself for the loss of the relationship. I had a relationship that created a life for me that exceeded in joy my wildest dreams. Then, tragically, in 2000, Lynn became so ill. We had known a life together that had been routine, but in a good way. Familiar, comfortable, joyful, and right. I couldn't cope with that. Other things were happening in my life as well. I thought it was all on me that the relationship ended and that I wasn't there for Lynn when she became ill. I felt shame and self-loathing. Therefore, when I listen to the song now, I hear darkness and despair. The singer is crying or moaning with pain following the loss of something that matters so much. We don't want to wake up sometimes, during those moments in dreams or memories, when we are there at the point of greatest contentment. We want to stay there. Anyway, what really matters most to me are relationships and love. Second only to my career as a clinical social worker helping others is the joy and happiness I found in being loved and loving someone. Joy has a definition that can include happiness, and yet I find myself tempted to use both words to capture the sense that I'm trying to convey. Elsewhere in my creative nonfiction books, I employ imagery in a different way to convey certain experiences. The song lyrics are included below for reference. The song now must be heard laying down with the opportunity to cry if necessary. Last night your shadow fell upon my lonely room. I touched your golden hair and tasted your perfume. Your eyes were filled with love the way they used to be. Your gentle hand reached out to comfort me. Then came the dawn, and you were gone. You were gone, gone, gone. I had too much a dream last night. Too much a dream. I'm not ready to face the light. I had too much a dream. Last night. Last night. The room was empty as I staggered from my bed. I could not bear the image racing through my head. You were so real that I could feel your eagerness. And when you raised your lips for me to kiss, came the dawn, and you were gone. You were gone, gone, gone. Oh, too much a dream. Oh, too much a dream. Too much a dream last night. Oh, too much a dream. Oh, too much a dream. Oh, too much a dream.